Imagine stepping into school and feeling like an outsider, not because of any actions taken, but rather based on appearance alone. Now imagine being presented with the opportunity for a complete overhaul of everything from outward appearance to one's very personality. Would you take that opportunity, or would you end up losing yourself along the way? This is the tragic tale of a girl simply wanting to be accepted, but she ends up losing herself entirely. In this story, Joan Wong is depicted as an Asian girl in search of her identity in a new country. Despite her best efforts, she feels like a fish out of water, and everything around her tells her that she does not fit in anywhere. Everything seems to be obsessed with one type of beauty, and that too is blonde hair, white skin, and sharp facial features. Everywhere she looks, there is an advertisement poster that highlights this beauty. Even in the movies, everyone seems to have these qualities that Joan lacks. On Joan's first day in school, her father sang her a soothing Chinese lullaby, trying to make her brave and homesick at the same time. It had worked briefly for him, but the minute she entered her classroom, the warmth was washed away by the curiosity in their eyes. She tried to block out the teasing, but it seemed to follow her wherever she went. At lunchtime, everything was made more difficult when her peers ridiculed her strange meal, laughing at its scent and appearance like she was from another planet. Although the day was very painful for Joan did not share the truth with her father. Instead, when he gently questioned how school had been that day, she smiled and told him that she had made a lot of new friends. This deception came easy for Joan, easier than telling her father about the pain she was feeling. How could she burden him more when he struggled so hard daily as a cleaner, coming back home tired, yet always making an effort to take care of her? Joan understood the sacrifice her father had made for her, and she would not add more to his list of worries. Joan had an experience that she would never forget. This experience happened at a high school prom dance where she got a glimpse of the life of the students there. The room was filled with dancing, laughter, and music. Everyone was dancing joyfully, without worrying about anything, surrounded by friends. However, the most memorable part was when they crowned their prom queen. A very beautiful blonde girl went on stage, and everyone praised and appreciated her presence. At that time, Joan could feel the significance of being accepted as part of the society. Over the years, Joan's desire to fit increased even further. She found herself being sucked into the beauty tutorial universe of influencers, tips, and non-stop scrolling of social media. Every single day, this social medium preached the same gospel that beauty was something that followed one particular standard, a standard that she did not quite fit into. Gradually, her interest became a full-blown obsession, as she learned everything there was to learn about transforming herself into the standard of perfection. On one fine day, when she was streaming an influencer, she heard the influencer state that she will not contest for the position of prom queen this year. She started playing around with a beauty filter that would change her face into something closer to the perfect ideal that society had set. The transformation was incredible. For a few moments, she almost fit in. Then she got a message saying that she had been chosen for a particular purpose by the people who created the filter. Back at home, Joan's mom made sure to hold on to her cultural heritage and make her feel as one of them as possible. She always tried to convince Joan to embrace her natural beauty, that she was beautiful the way she was. 121-130. One day, she even asked Joan to join her for some dumplings making, which was an integral part of their culture. However, Joan did not want to do it anymore and ignored her mom's request. She did not get any comfort from it since she started distancing herself from all those things that symbolized her culture and who she truly was inside. In school, Joan was trying to hide every bit of her identity and culture by giving away her home-cooked lunch just to save herself from the humiliation she used to suffer before. She tried to fit in with everyone, making sure nobody notices the bits of her that she is now despising. She turned her attention towards Olivia, who happens to be the most liked girl in school. Olivia had everything that Joan wanted: confidence, adoration, and a certain power over others. For Joan, Olivia was the embodiment of acceptance. But the truth behind the glamour lay manipulation, superficial friends, and criticism. This mysterious message took her to a secret medical center operated by Dr. Willie. Hidden from public eyes, it created an aura of mystery and attraction. Within its walls, Joan encountered an amazing thought that left her flabbergasted yet fascinated: the possibility of complete physical transformation using cutting-edge technology. It offered not just minor modifications but complete metamorphosis. Not only skin color and facial features could be changed, but also voice could be manipulated to resemble the desired look. The notion appeared incredible, unbelievable, yet extremely attractive to her. Dr. Willie used a disturbing philosophy to justify this: if you cannot defeat them, then be one of them. His words echoed menacingly in the atmosphere. It sounded disturbing, but at the same time convincing. There was some sense that something was not right about all of this, that it was somewhat unnerving. However, the prospect of being accepted, the one thing she had been longing for so long now, was just too much. Her judgment blurred due to the temptation, while her doubts faded. After all, since she required parental consent before performing the full procedure on her body, they offered her a free transformation for her hair first. It seemed harmless at first glance, just a small change. But beneath its simplicity, it marked the beginning of a path that was far more dangerous than she could yet understand. Joan came back from her trip looking different, with a hairstyle that shocked everyone in her family. The look on their faces revealed their confusion and lack of comprehension about what prompted her to do such an abrupt move. However, even though they were worried, they tried their best not to discourage her and hoped that it would be a passing phase. Nevertheless, Joan seemed to have already started evolving. Not only did her look change, but other aspects like her mindset, personality, and self-perception started transforming. In school, everybody paid attention to her new look, since it gave her a new type of attention. Having been motivated by the reaction, she took it one step further and dyed her hair blonde. Olivia recognized her, and that little bit of recognition was all she needed. Nevertheless, she did not respect her in any way, shape, or form. Instead, she only saw her as useful when it came to helping her with her language skills. To complete her metamorphosis, Joan started to lose touch between reality and lies. She fabricated stories to get their signatures and kept her true motives masked under her composed demeanor. With complete faith in their daughter, the parents signed their names to the forms without realizing what Joan was about to do. Their trust meant little in the face of her increasing fixation. Back at the clinic the following day, Joan's heart felt burdened, yet she moved forward. Within, Dr. Willie and his staff got ready for the entire process. While lying on the table of operation, she dreamed of living a life full of acceptance, admiration, and love. But when she woke up, her dream had come true, though not without a sacrifice. Because after all those operations, she ceased to be Joan Wong. She became somebody else. When Joan came back home, she was no longer recognizable by her parents, because to them, she was a stranger. It took for Joan to speak Mandarin and recall some personal memories for them to come to their senses. Their daughter had wiped herself clean, but it breaks them. The mother was heartbroken, crying for the situation to be reverted. However, this was irreversible. Joan seemed to have no regrets about the procedure. Instead, she felt that the operation made her more resilient. She even stated that being who she was the biggest flaw she had ever had. In school, Joan became Jo Hunt. Her makeover led to a change in her whole lifestyle. From being ignored, people started admiring her, and she found herself accepted in many social groups she was previously shut out from. However, this acceptance came at the expense of telling a lie, which was discovered by her old friend Brenda. Brenda was hurt by the betrayal because she felt that by changing who she was, Joan had betrayed her and everyone who was like her. With prom approaching, Joan's state slowly declined. Her skin began to peel and her face became unstable. The perfect transformation was unraveling, but Joan made every effort to cover up the flaws with makeup to avoid losing everything she had worked for. Her behavior also caused complications within her family life. Her father was fired from work because of a party that Joan had organized without authorization. Rather than admitting fault, Joan reacted negatively, further exacerbating the tension between her and her parents. Amid all this chaos, Joan's sole objective remained unchanged: to be crowned prom queen. Prom night finally came. As Joan finally fulfilled her lifelong goal when she became prom queen. She felt triumphant for just a fleeting moment. Her face starts melting on stage. It was only temporary. Standing there, her face slowly twisted into a grotesque parody of what it once was. In 1 second, everything crumbled in front of everybody. Those who had been impressed by her before were now repelled by her true self. Joan later finds out that the transformation process had been experienced by Olivia and her family as well. They had totally stripped themselves off their old selves, thinking that it was essential for survival in a critical society. For them, transformation was not an option, but rather a philosophy. However, Joan started having doubts about the philosophy. Was it worth accepting oneself and blending in by losing one's identity and heritage? Joan's parents were not angry when she came back home. Instead, they seemed to understand her situation. They talked about how they were struggling to adjust to a new place and still maintain who they are. Joan's father made a very strong statement that really made an impression on her. He did not want to be like anyone else. He wanted to be himself. This was the reality that Joan had been hiding from all along. Desperate to rectify her blunder, Joan rushed back to the clinic. However, undoing the surgery would prove too difficult. Considering her situation, she decided on something quite difficult. Tearing off the artificial layers that constituted her sense of self became imperative. The process was more than just painful. It was excruciating, both mentally and physically. As she peeled away her former self, she remembered who she once was. She saw her true eyes in the mirror. For the first time in years, she wasn't ashamed. She felt complete. This story is more than an account of transformation, but it is about identity, self-acceptance, and the risks of losing your identity while seeking validation. Joan was determined to be accepted for who she is, but in trying to achieve this goal, she found out that genuine acceptance does not involve altering one's identity. Acceptance means embracing oneself despite imperfections and uniqueness. And so, the burning question is, would you make the same decision? Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoyed this story recap, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more stories just like this.